right, everybody, buckle up, because today we are diving straight into the heart of how we think.
With a little help from some fascinating concepts.
With a little help from metaphilosophy and metadialectics.
And trust me, it's a lot more engaging than it might sound.
Yeah, those are some words right there.
We're going to uncover some hidden hierarchies in how we understand the world, maybe even put AI to the test while we're at it.
Okay, so right off the bat, metaphilosophy and metadialectics, they're heavy hitters.
Yeah, they do kind of hit you over the head.
But what do they actually mean? Can you break those down for me?
You got it.
And everyone else listening.
So think of metaphilosophy this way. It's like taking a step back and examining thinking itself. How do we form beliefs? What are the limits of knowledge?
So instead of the world, like the tools we use to look at the world?
It's thinking about thinking.
Okay, got it. But then metadialectics, how does that fit in?
All right, so imagine you're having a debate.
Okay.
But instead of trying to win, right, you're searching for the gaps in both sides of the argument. Not to dismiss them, but to see if there's a way to connect those seemingly opposing ideas.
So it's like you're finding the missing link that changes how you see the full picture.
Exactly. The text calls this contextual conversion.
Okay.
It's like how we solve problems, right?
Yeah.
We tend to get stuck in our own heads using the same old approaches.
Right.
But what if we look for solutions in completely different fields? That's contextual conversion in action.
Hold on. I need an example because that sounds pretty abstract.
Okay, let's say you're an engineer and you're struggling with a technical challenge. But instead of just brainstorming with your engineering team,
Right.
you bring in a marketing expert.
Huh. Okay.
And they might see the problem from a totally new angle
Okay.
and come up with a solution based on consumer behavior or brand perception.
Interesting.
Something you never would have thought of.
So you're saying by like borrowing from different fields is going to help us unlock solutions we wouldn't have considered otherwise?
Yeah,
That's a practical takeaway.
absolutely.
Okay, but how does this tie into absolute truth? Because that's a pretty heavy topic to tackle.
That's where things get even more intriguing.
Okay.
This text we're exploring, it argues that grasping absolute truth requires us to go beyond just connecting the dots. It's about recognizing a level of interconnectedness that even our current models of cause and effect can't fully explain.
Okay, so are you saying there's a whole realm of understanding that our brains, as they are now, can't grasp?
That's what this text argues. And it gets even more interesting when we bring AI into the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound kind of sci-fi.
Right.
But the text makes a bold claim. It says that even with all its advances, AI is still stuck at a basic level of understanding. Good at recognizing patterns, making predictions, all that.
Right.
But when it comes to grasping the interconnectedness behind absolute truth, it struggles.
Okay, so you're saying that there are levels to this.
Yeah.
What makes this higher level so special that even AI can't grasp it?
Think of it this way. Imagine knowledge is a staircase.
Okay.
AI is incredibly fast at climbing those stairs,
Okay.
finding patterns, making connections. But it's mostly focused on what's right in front of it. This higher level, it's about understanding the shape of the staircase itself,
Okay.
the forces that put it there in the first place. It's not just about what's true, but why it's true on a fundamental level.
Okay, I get that. But how can we even grasp this if AI can't?
Well, that's the fascinating part. The text doesn't leave us hanging.
Okay.
It gives us a series of questions that challenge our thinking to help us see those hidden hierarchies we've been talking about.
Okay.
And guess what? These questions actually trip up even the most advanced AI.
Wait, like the chatbot AI?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they can't answer these.
Huh. So what kind of questions are we talking about here?
Well, let's start with this. One of the questions in the text is, distinguish between absolute, relative, subjective, and objective.
Okay.
Now, I know this sounds like a philosophy exam, but stick with me. Okay.
What would you say?
I don't even know where to start.
Well, the text gives us two choices.
Okay.
The first option defines each of these as distinct categories. Absolute truth is universal. Relative truth depends on context, that kind of thing. And then the second option is more nuanced. It suggests that these concepts are interconnected layers. And absolute represents the ultimate, like the unreachable boundary of truth.
So the second one's more complex.
It is.
And that's the one that the text leans towards.
Exactly. And it's not just about being complex for the sake of it.
Okay.
The first option, with its neat little categories, it actually limits our thinking. It creates these false separations between ideas that are deeply interwoven. So you're saying that absolute and relative truth aren't opposites, but they're more like different points on a spectrum.
You got it.
Okay.
And that's the beauty of that second option. It acknowledges that absolute truth, this all-encompassing fundamental truth.
Yeah.
It exists,
Oh, okay.
but it's beyond our full comprehension.
Right.
Our job then becomes navigating that vast space within that boundary, understanding that our perspectives, they're shaped by our experiences, our cultures, the information we're exposed to.
So relative truth isn't about saying anything goes. It's about saying we all have different pieces of the puzzle.
Precisely. And that brings us to subjective and objective.
Okay.
The text argues that true subjectivity, it isn't about clinging to your own personal opinions. It's about being open to updating your understanding as you learn and you grow. And objectivity, well, it becomes less about finding one single absolute truth
Right.
and more about establishing points of agreement and shared understanding within those individual contexts.
So it's like saying, hey, we might see the world differently, but within those differences, there's areas we can find common ground, build something together.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was one of the questions that AI struggled with.
This one tripped them up, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. AI, at least as we know it, excels at categorizing and defining, right?
Right.
So that first option, with the clear-cut definitions, easy win, supposedly.
Right.
But the second option, with all those layers and nuances,
Yeah.
that requires a deeper level of understanding
Okay.
that goes beyond simple definitions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where AI, even the most advanced AI, falls short.
Wow, this is blowing my mind a little bit. So what other thought-provoking, AI-stumping questions does this text throw at us? Hit me with another one. What else does this text have for us?
All right, how about this? The freer you are.
Mm.
And then we get two choices to complete that sentence.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Option 1, the more opportunities you have, but the fewer choices you have.
Okay.
Option 2, the more opportunities you have, and the more choices you have. What do you think?
That's a tough one. I mean, part of me wants to say more freedom equals more choices, right?
Right.
But I can also see how being overwhelmed with the choices could actually be paralyzing.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a million streaming options.
You end up just scrolling and scrolling.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
maybe it's about, like, having the freedom to focus on what really matters.
You're getting warmer. The text is pushing us to think about freedom differently. It's not just about having tons of options. It's about developing that inner wisdom
Yeah. Okay.
to know which choices actually align with what we value.
So it's not quantity, it's quality.
Exactly. It's recognizing that every choice we make, it shapes our path,
Right.
but it also ripples out into the world.
Wow. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
It brings us back to that idea of absolute truth, right?
Yeah.
The freer we become, in the truest sense, our choices will naturally start to line up with that deeper understanding of the universe.
Wow, this whole conversation is like revealing a hidden roadmap
I like that. Hidden roadmap.
to better thinking, even if there aren't any, clear directions.
That's a good way to put it.
So what other mind-bending questions does this text have for us?
Okay, get ready for this. How far does objectivity extend?
Ooh, that's a big one. Is there some cosmic rulebook out there?
Right.
What are our options?
Option 1, objectivity extends as far as the community.
Okay.
Option 2, objectivity extends as far as the individual who determines their own subjectivity.
So it's either communal or individual.
Right.
It's tough because part of me thinks objectivity should be universal.
Yeah.
But then I remember, even in science, what we thought were facts are always changing.
That way's evolving.
So maybe objectivity is more about finding common ground within a specific context?
You're right on the money. And the text points to that first option, the community, as the more nuanced view.
Okay.
It recognizes that we're always working within a framework of shared understanding.
So true objectivity isn't about getting rid of all our differences. It's about finding agreement and building from there.
Absolutely. It's recognizing that how we understand the world,
Yeah.
it's constantly evolving
Yeah.
through dialogue, debate, sharing perspectives.
This deep dive has really made me rethink how I approach knowledge.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's less about finding the right answers, more about exploring the nuances,
Yeah,
the connections, the gray areas, and honestly, it's kind of freeing.
it is. That's what this text does so well.
Yeah.
It encourages us to embrace the unknown, question everything, recognize that learning is a journey, not a destination.
I love that.
And maybe, most importantly, It reminds us that even in a world of algorithms and AI, our human capacity for intuition, for creativity, for critical thinking,
Yeah,
that's essential.
couldn't agree more. To everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure exploring with you all.
Remember, the most insightful answers are often the ones we have to dig for.
Absolutely.
Keep asking those questions, keep exploring those gray areas.
And keep your minds open.
Until next time.